Yeah.
Hi, welcome back to our channel, Investigating Film for Dummies. I'm Genevieve in California, and this is...
This is Gary. Yeah. Well, anyway, we're here. I'm being silly today because this is a kind of a silly movie that we enjoy. I enjoyed called Dayshift, which is on Netflix right now. And anyway, we'll start with Genevieve. I'd like to go with the dummy first to see how they liked it. Dayshift is with Jamie Foxx and it's Dave Franco among some others, but those are the biggest stars, I believe. And and the Snoop Dogg has
I'm like, hello.
Hello. Snoop Dogg has a bit of a part in it, and yeah, it was. I liked it, but we'll just start with Genevieve. Go ahead.
Okay, so you recommended that I watch it. I had forgotten that I'd already started watching it, and I got bored. And then I watched it again, and I fell asleep until Dave Franco, not James. Dave Franco came on. I love that guy. Dave Franco, after he came into the movie, or his appearance, then I was in. Like, I love him. Snoop Dogg was great. I loved, I thought his acting was a little forced, but I also thought that he should be in more movies because I think he's great, even though I feel like his acting could use a little work. And then Jamie Foxx was fine. Kind of a weird movie for him to choose, I thought, but it was a fun movie. For me, I only loved it because of the Franco kid, who I thought was brilliant.
Which is, I was talking to my daughter this morning about how no one is hiring James Franco is not doing too much anymore because he's now under the Me Too or the cancel bus for whatever reason. And I said, well, Dave Franco is doing a lot of stuff now. He's like the whinier version of James Franco. Whereas I found James Franco a bit whiny also, but Dave Franco is much more whiny, a whiny type character, right?
He's adorable. Like, I was looking at his outfits for my children, and I thought, because I have 16-year-olds who are turning 17 in 2 weeks, and I was looking at his ensemble and his haircut. He's just adorable. So I take fashion tips from him for my children.
Okay, that was from the ladies' side.
Yeah, and then he's just funny. Like, he's just so funny. I just love watching him. So that was why I loved the movie. You took him out. For me, snoozer. I did want to ask you this, as like all the fight scenes were happening. For me, I get super bored. Is that like a guy thing? Guys like
I would
watch?
think it's a guy thing. I looked at it because, again, I'm looking at it from a film cinétiste, like the French word for a film nut. I'm looking at it from the just the whole genre itself, the vampire hunter genre, because which is interesting because the vampire and the vampire hunter are like are almost like two different genres in a way. Usually, like Twilight, you get the vampires, but you don't have anybody really hunting them. They hunt themselves in that movie or in that story. And then there's the Anne Rice vampires. I guess there's some vampire hunters on the periphery, but nothing. But there's a whole genre, like there's like 20 something animes that are just devoted to vampire hunters, vampire hunter stories. The original vampire hunter, Van Helsing from Dracula, is as big a part of the story as Dracula is himself. So the vampire hunter is a huge part of that genre or that mythology. So this was just another entry into that mythological world of the vampire hunter. Like we saw vampires, John Carpenter's vampires, which I tolerated, but evidently Genevieve, she didn't tolerate it at all. Not a great.
I love vampires, so I love vampire movies.
What is your favorite vampire movie?
One of them is Lost Boys.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that would be again, the kids become vampire. Yeah, the vampire hunters, the young boys are a big part of that story, right? The comic book nuts.
Yeah.
So the vampire hunter is a huge part of the whole myth, right? And so this was a new kind of an updated version. I could tell they wanted to make it kind of really bright. You know, the photography was very bright. The guy who did the photography did Get Out. That's probably his most famous cinematography. You know, whatever, Toby Oliver, I think his name is. But he made the movie very bright, right? It's so bright in the sunlight, day shift,
Yeah.
you know, and vampires usually a dark kind of a gothic, has a gothic look to it, right? Very dark and gloomy and foggy and all these, you know, all those tropes that they use. But this was, you know, a take on it. Blade, you know, look if
Yeah.
you watch Blade, that's the
I love
ultimate
Blade.
the ultimate vampire hunter, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why Jamie Foxx did it. You know, he's saying, you know, I loved Wesley Snipes and Blade. Now I get to do my kind of like my little version. I love Jamie Foxx, though. See, I'm a Jamie Foxx fan, and so I liked him in that part a lot. But and it was directed by again it was the first directing job. This guy's been a stuntman for 30 something years, and since 1985, and
Well, there you answered the question. All these stunts
yeah, there were a lot of
for a
stunts in it,
dude.
right?
I mean, that's who directed the movie. So therefore there was a lot of stunts, which I found boring.
You found boring, right?
Too
But
boring.
excuse me, what if Brad Pitt had played Jamie Foxx's part? Would you have been
No, I still would have been bored. Just I felt like
bit
there's just
bored?
too many action, or what is it? Fight
Too long
sequences.
fight sequence. Yeah, and
Yeah.
which I liked, and like Steve Atkins, who is one of the Russian guys. He's a famous action star in Asia. He does in Australia. He does a lot of like martial arts films. He was one of those Russian guys, and I don't know who the other guy was. He was the second brother in the van. They came and they attacked that
Yeah.
house with the
Yeah. That
hive.
was fun.
And Steve Atkins is a brilliant martial artist, and so it was fun to watch him. If you don't know who he is, it wouldn't mean anything. And
No, but
you
it
know,
was the two brothers.
the two brothers. He was I don't know. It's hard to describe. They both looked alike, right? They have to be,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's hard to describe to tell you which one it was. But the other guy, I've seen him before, but I don't know who he was. But Steve Atkins for sure, who's been in it seems like hundreds of movies. Um, but he always get these in Hollywood because he does a lot of movies in Asia and Australia and England. He always gets these bit parts. He always shows up in these bit parts in Hollywood movies. He gets these little small parts, and I keep thinking he's going to be a bigger star, but that hasn't happened for him yet. Um, so anyway, it's just the whole genre of the vampire hunter, which is interesting because I looked up where the first vampire hunter originated, and it, of course, it originated with the first vampire story, which goes back to the Middle Ages and into the Dark Ages. It was a Father Gregorio, who basically killed the first vampire. They had to chop his head off though, because they said the stakes would not go to the guy's chest. They tried to stake him, but they kept bouncing off. This is the first vampire story.
Oh, story.
It's a story. And then it was some guy took the story. It was an oral. It was a oral tell or a fable, I guess you say, like Grimm's fairy tales. And he wrote it down into a book, like in the 16th to 17th century. And then that's when the vampire first entered literature. But before that, it was more of a legend, a fable, something people told. But I think it really ties into this movie in a lot of ways, is because I think the original stories came from like, who's that oddball living in the village? Who's that oddball over there in that hut? You know, he's so weird. He must be something wrong with him, right? So they're living among us, right? And so in this story also,
I have neighbors like that.
there you go. So it really ties back into the original stories of how the people who are living in our neighborhoods, there's something wrong with them, and we must get rid of them. So the vampire.
Well, I'm just
something.
saying they're weird. They don't come out of their house except
Oh,
for
really?
like, yeah, maybe after dark or at dusk.
Oh, seriously?
Seriously, like I've almost never seen them. come out, and their blinds are always drawn, and yeah, they're the
That's
weird
like Fright Night. There's another one that
Yep. Oh, I love Fright Night. Love Fright
the
Night.
original or the Colin Farrell version.
Oh, the original.
With with what's I can't remember that.
Colin Farrell's great. I'm a huge fan of his, as we know.
But it's not funny like the first one. The first one was hysterically funny.
Oh.
It was a good. I think it came out after Lost Boys, but it kind of followed that same pattern of humor and teenage humor and horror, right. Whereas this is more terrifying. It was and terrifying too. And we're not talking about Fright Night now, but the vampire was very good, very suave, very sophisticated. Whereas the lead vampire in this one, the lady, she was I thought she was okay, Forgettable though, huh? For you. Yeah. So again, it stands at like I think 51% on Rotten Tomatoes. So half again, we're almost exactly the same rating we're giving it is on Rotten Tomatoes. Like half don't like it, half do like it. So
yeah,
it's basically I enjoyed it because I thought it was energetic, and I liked the stunts and kind of the creepy way they're able to kill the vampires, and they snap them and all those.
Yeah.
The contortionist, they were like contortionists almost, right? When they hit the ground, it was all kind of crazy. And then the story itself was a bit thin.
Very thin.
And the only thing I found interesting was the way it tied into the whole vampire hunter, genre itself, right? And how it ties in historically to vampire hunters.
I mean, it reminded me of Bullet Train too, where I feel like it's just an excuse for these boys to get together and like mess around and play
and do stunts.
Yeah. Which would be so fun. Like if I was lucky enough to make movies, it'd be a blast to do that. But as a woman, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm sure there's many women that liked it.
There's many women stunt ladies too. So.
Well, I just don't like those long sequences. So I like more story.
Oh, yeah. Story. Yeah. Yes, vampire porn. So, in a way, that's what some people call True Blood, was a vampire porn.
I love True Blood.
But True Blood was magnificent up to the last season, as always, right?
Oh, really, the last episode. I love Twilight, Interview with the Vampire. Love those movies. Love that TV show.
And again, those aren't really vampire hunter genre movies. Those are more about the vampires themselves, the ones that you like. This was really a vampire hunter movie, right? The genre, I guess you'd say. I mean, there's like one in the 70s I like, Captain Cronus, which I think this one kind of owes a lot to that particular movie, Captain Cronus, which comes from the 70s. He's a vampire hunter in the Middle Ages, who roams around the countryside, killing vampires, right? Killing sexy vampires in that one. And then, of course, then there's Roman Polanski's The Fearless Vampire Hunters, or excuse me if my teeth are in your neck. This is actually the title of the movie. Starred Sharon Tate. And I can't remember the male, but it's a fantastic movie. It's probably my favorite vampire hunter movie, right? It's about these vampire hunters who end up in a castle with basically Dracula and a bunch of other vampires, right? And so it's at first they don't know they're vampires, and they through the movie they start discovering. But it's a funny, it's supposed to be. It's like this one. It's a comedic. They talk about Lost Boys being the first comedy horror movie, but no, that you go all the way back to The Fearless Vampire Hunters by Roman Polanski in 1966 or even 65. It's a pretty old movie, and that was really well done, and that's one you should check out. But this owes a lot to those kind of movies. It's like a total, the vampire hunter, but it's a comedy also, right?
Yeah.
But again, it gets bogged down with, as you say, which is kind of a a dichotomy. I don't know what the word would be. The opposite of, like, it gets bogged down by the action. Right? A movie gets
Yes,
bogged down by the action because it's got too much action and not enough story, right? That's
yeah,
is what you're saying, which I can agree with.
exactly.
Yeah. Then
Jamie
also,
Foxx,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was going
Jamie
to say,
Foxx, what other movies has he been in?
oh, he's been in a lot. You know, one of my favorites, of course, is Collateral with Tom Cruise, where he plays the taxi driver driving the hitman around. That's a
Yeah,
fantastic. That's a classic. Um, and Tom Cruise is certifiable in that, right? I mean, he's a bit
yeah,
certifiable anyway, so it's a perfect role for him. And they said
actually.
Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt together is hitmen, just crazy hitmen, doing
Mhm.
whatever. They could put up with each other for a length of time to make the movie. Uh, anyway, I was gonna say, yeah, I think it owes a lot to Men in Black too, with the, with the vampire headquarters, vampire hunter
Yeah,
headquarters. You
right.
know, has
Yeah,
a little.
but not as clever. I mean, not even
No, no, no. But they
nearly as
had some
clever.
clever parts. I thought they tried hard to like with the head when it came off and putting the head back on.
Because it's my boy Dave.
Yeah, poor Dave, you must have been shocked at that part, huh?
Oh, I was. I was like, what? And then,
He killed
but
him
I knew
off
he was
so
gonna come
quick.
back, and I knew that Snoop was gonna come back. I knew there's no way they were gonna kill him off, and then he
Yeah,
did.
and he has a
Oh,
very
spoiler.
the last nine's very memorable. Line is very memorable. That's what I love about Los Angeles. It's full of vampires,
That's from The Lost Boys.
and it is from the Lost Boys. That's what I'm saying. That's what he
Yeah.
loves about What was it? San Carlos?
Yes. Was it San Carlos?
Was it? What was the name of? It was Santa
I
Cruz,
sh
but what was the name of the fictitious city? You
I
know,
know I should know
shot at
this.
Santa.
I've seen the movie like 100 times,
Yeah, I think it's San Carlos, which is a
but
weird place anyway, which I don't want to go into right now. But the real San Carlos is kind of a psycho city in real life. But yeah, if that's what it's called. I can't. I haven't seen Lost Boys in a long time. But again, that's, yeah. I think it was just another entry into that genre, and I think over time I'll go back and watch it again. I might watch it again in a few years because I enjoyed the action.
I think Jamie Foxx was too good for this movie. I
Hmm.
mean, but then again, Dave Franco, I think he's great. I wouldn't say I don't know. I just felt like his acting skills are far superior than this movie.
I thought the pace was good. I thought the being a new director, I thought he handled you know, the pacing very well. I thought it snapped right along for me.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't, because I enjoyed the action and it didn't bore me. So, all in all, I found it enjoyable movie. Again, I agree with you though. The story was paper thin. Just
Terrible.
just the tropes, just the capture the wife, capture the girl, blah blah, the daughter, go get the daughter. I mean, you see that
Let
thousands
me
of
ask you
times.
this to conclude. I don't understand why they spend all of this money on these movies and the story is horrible. It's like the writers are like they just kind of like phone it in. I don't understand.
I think what happens a lot of times, from my experience, is like I went through some screenplay writing classes myself, what or and read books about by screenwriters. Is that what happens is they take the screenplay, they pay the writer all this amazing money, so he will just go away, and then they just use the script as a blueprint, and they just start shooting, and they'll look at the script. Okay, this is where we're supposed to be. Okay, let's do our stunts.
Okay.
Let's do our stunt thing, because basically when a stunt man's directing, that's what you're getting. You're getting a big long series. It's like going to the circus. You're getting a big long series of stunts. You're
Okay.
not going to see. Now, I don't know about this movie in particular, but in general, that a lot of time that's what happens. Is they don't really. The writer is the lowest form of life in Hollywood. They're the least. The actor, the big actors are, and the big directors and the big producers, they're up there. But even a big writer, very popular writer, they would pay a lot of money for his stuff, but they're not going to necessarily follow his script like the Bible or anything. They're going to do whatever they want with it.
That helps.
You know, we'll have fun with it. It's not like something that's written in stone that, unless the writer, and that's why a lot of writers become producers and directors themselves, so they can actually shoot what they wrote. Because, you know, because if you give it to somebody else, they're just going to change it. And, you know, they'll rewrite it. The actors rewrite it, you know, on and on. Like, I think famously Stallone, they say Stallone rewrites all his, if he gets a script that he hasn't written, he'll rewrite his parts. So he'll be more, you know, sound like himself, right? So anyway, that's, you can't rely on that. But again, I don't know about this movie or any of the logistics.
With the next one, we can go over the movie that he just did, Stallone, which anyway.
Which movie is that?
I can't remember the name of it, where he's like invincible.
Oh yes, what is that movie called? That was another one of those unmemorable. Spartan. Spartan.
Something like that. I know. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk
the trash man. Oh, so you did see it?
I did.
Okay, so we'll talk about that one next time. That's another interesting movie in its way. Bad film cinema.
Yes, in its way.
But again, I kind of liked it. So anyway, we'll talk about it next time. All right, so that's all from Gary. If I didn't say my name, this is a new channel, so we're just now experimenting on how to get it together and how to talk about. It's giving us an excuse to talk about, to watch more movies and then talk about them. So
yeah,
that's all for now.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye-bye.